Hello, and welcome to my very first video here on Out of the Park and Into the End Zone, where I will be discussing not just obviously football and baseball, but sports in general, sports adjacent topics, and all things that I pretty much find amusing or just enjoy. My name is Danny, and if you're watching this, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to check me out for any kind of sports information, news discussion, whether I'm talking about a topic that you have specific interest in, or if you're just bored. Either way, it means a lot to me to know that you are here, though I don't want to spend the entire time gushing about who or who may not be here. So I think we're going to just get in and start talking about the thing that was most likely the name of this video, which would be the trade involving L'Jarius Sneed. We're going to cover the details of the trade itself, how it's going to impact the draft coming up, as well as the next year's draft. And we'll be taking a look at the roster of the Tennessee Titans for a little bit, especially the cornerbacking room. So let's just get into it. In case you haven't been keeping up with the NFL news cycle, or if this is your first time hearing about this trade, the Kansas City Chiefs have agreed on a trade with the Tennessee Titans, which will send Sneed in exchange for a 2025 third round pick and a swap of 2024 sevens. So I'm unsure which of the sevens that the Titans are trading, as they had three coming into the draft this year. So they had a bunch of different ones at their disposal. I'm not sure which one they're using for the trade exactly, and I couldn't find many details about it online as I was searching through ESPN, CBS, and all that kind of stuff. But because the Kansas City Chiefs just won the Super Bowl, I'm sure it's going to be an upgrade in the seventh round regardless. So there you go. Now, upon first glance, this package seems a bit strange for somebody of L'Jarius Sneed's caliber, who's been the number one corner on a back-to-back championship team. But there are definitely some good reasons as to why the package for the Chiefs wasn't as lucrative as you might expect for someone like that. Sneed was taken in the 2020 NFL Draft at pick 138. He's standing about 6'1", which is good, 192 pounds, who led the Chiefs this year defensively with interceptions, as he grabbed 2 out of the air. He was also third in total tackles on the team with 78, and was tied for second on the team for total tackles with 60. Though even better, I would say that L'Jarius didn't allow a single touchdown this season. In fact, passes thrown at him were given a rating of 56, along with 14 passes defended, which was 8th in the NFL. That all sounds spectacular, and I would dare even say excellent. But what that means for Kansas City is that they would have to pay L'Jarius top 10 money. That's the first reason that he had to go. You can't pay a guy top 10 money when the guy behind him, Trent McDuffie, just made an all-pro first team in his second year as a pro. Kansas City is going to be able to give him his fifth-year they're going to be able to exercise his fifth-year option this time next year, which means that they're basically going to have team control over him for the next 3 years before they even have to extend him. Along with that, there's a little bit of an injury concern with Sneed, who's not injury prone in any way. In fact, he's kind of been a model of consistency, only missing 3 games in 3 years, one of them being this year. But this year, he had a bit of a nagging little injury bug that was bothering him all season. He played all 4 games in the postseason, so in reality, it's probably not that much of an issue. But he is entering his age 27 season. But I believe the biggest reason why the Chiefs couldn't get a larger package for a guy like L'Jarius Sneed was mainly because they franchised him. They franchised him at the end of the year, and it basically sent a notice out to all the other GMs that they were not interested in extending him long term, and that they were more than likely going to move off of him as easily as they could for the best package that they could. Essentially, it was a tag and trade kind of situation where you franchise a player in order to move them. You retain them so they don't fall into free agency. That way you don't give up a guy like L'Jarius Sneed for nothing and he just doesn't leave for another team. You actually get some value back for him, however little it may be. Again, a third round pick next year and a swap of sevens. The Chiefs just had no leverage in this situation because whoever rang the phone to the Chiefs front office knew that they were probably going to get rid of him regardless. And that they weren't trying to extend him long term, so the other GMs were gonna lowball them, uh, since he is a premier player that's due to be paid at a premier position, which is corner. But now that we discussed Kansas City, the team that was moving off of him, let's talk a bit about the Tennessee Titans. The Titans have been going through a hell of a free agency frenzy, just grabbing guys, kind of big name guys like Tony Pollard, which is a strange acquisition because they already have Tyjae Spears. So you kind of have a power back and another power back. So there's not really like a change up there. I'm not sure if they're going to still draft a running back this year. They also went in and grabbed Lloyd Cushenberry, Kenneth Murray, and as of me talking about this, they had signed Calvin Ridley to a 4-year deal. They had been just building up for this new regime that they're bringing in as they moved off of Mike Vrabel, who has been a playoff successful coach for them the last few years. And the new coach, Brian Callahan, is already looking to make splashes in this first year as a Titans coach, and has already shown that he's going to run this organization much differently than how Vrabel ran it. In fact, there's already been reports that Brian Callahan, the new coach for the Titans, is going to start playing his starters in the preseason, whereas Mike Vrabel did not do that. He was a former player. He did it for injury reasons. He just was not going to allow his starters to play in the preseason. Even Tannehill has had like one drive in the preseason through his entire tenure. It was 3 handoffs and they punted it away. So already you're seeing a stark difference in the way the franchise is being run. If you were paying attention to all of free agency, though, you may have noticed that I missed out on a specific signing that the Tennessee Titans made, which was Chidobe Awuzie. Chidobe has been a 7-year veteran of the NFL, first starting with the Cowboys, and has been playing with the Bengals the last 3 seasons. He's been serviceable throughout his career, but last year was a bit of a rough one, allowing a 63% completion and 113 pass rating on balls thrown at him. Not to mention, this is the worst numbers-wise that it's been in his career, even allowing 4 touchdowns. I can imagine that the hope is Chidobe is going to be allowed to thrive in his new role, not having to be a 1A, 1B corner, but instead being a second or a third corner in the Titans depth chart. And we could see something similar to his 2022 campaign where he was really good. According to the ESPN projections for the current cornerback room, the Tennessee Titans now have L'Jarius Sneed, Chidobe Awuzie, Caleb Farley, the former first rounder, Trey Avery, Eric Garrer. I'm sorry if I butchered these names. I do not know these guys. Tay Gowan, Anthony Kendall, Roger McCreary, who had a really good year last year, and Elijah Molden, who I swear was on the Jets at one point. I'm like almost 100% certain he was at one point on the Jets. But as far as how the trade will affect this current year's draft coming up, there really won't be much of a difference, as they just swapped sevens. The real watch is going to be next year, 2025, when we see what that Titans third turns into for the Kansas City Chiefs, whether it's a drafted player or if it's part of another package that's made to maybe grab a receiver for the Chiefs, like another receiver for them down the line. We'll just have to see on that. The Chiefs will have picks in the first round, second round, third round, a fourth, a fifth from the Cowboys, and the seventh from the Titans in the trade. The Titans, however, will have their picks in the first, the second, a fourth, a fifth from the Vikings, which originally came from the Eagles, and a seventh, which was reacquired by the Eagles. And their three aforementioned seventh round picks, one of which now belonging from the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the best way to kind of summarize and finalize this whole discussion is to conclude with what's next for L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed was given an extension after the trade, which was 4 years, reportedly up to $76 million, with $55 million of that being guaranteed, according to Bleacher Report's Jordan Schultz. This is exactly the kind of deal that Kansas City didn't want to give Sneed, as they're already paying massive amounts of money to Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, the re-signing of Chris Jones. And this new deal for for L'Jarius Sneed is going to be tied for 7th largest among corners in annual value, which is the top 10 money that he more than likely deserved at the end of the season. But that seems like I have fully covered the trade. All of the details that I could find online, that is pretty much it for the long and the short of it. So we have to see what happens with the draft picks that were swapped. We have to see who they're turned into, and we're going to have to see what becomes of L'Jarius Sneed, if he can be just continue to be excellent on another team. But I'd like to know what you think about this deal. Do you think this was better for Kansas City moving off of a guy when they have another guy lined up ready to take over? Or do you think this benefited Tennessee more? Personally, I think that this was an excellent deal by the Titans for a guy that you only had to give up essentially a third round pick for, to possibly be a cornerstone piece of your new regime. He is a proven, nearly risk-free player who has already been re-signed for the foreseeable future. So you don't have to worry about him re-signing. You don't have to worry about any holdouts. You don't have to worry about any of that. Plus, there's also no guarantee that you'll be able to find somebody who can turn to a L'Jarius Sneed in the third round. If you can get a guy like that for less than a first, I don't see why you don't take that chance. Congratulations, Ryan Callahan. You got what you wanted. But I want to thank you all personally for joining me here and watching my breakdown of this trade. I plan to continue to make sports content in the future, and I would love to see you all again. I hope that you'll join me for the next one, and see you then. Have a good day.